A short note on the characteristics of Zizek's crypto-Nietzschean Lacanianism. So Zizek inherits the Nietzschean position via the royal path of Freud, who's taken up the Nietzschean reversal of Plato in his ish and Huber ish triad, which then posits the conditions for the theory of the unconscious, where when Nietzsche speaks of the body, we have here the S or the id, or in English confusingly given in Latin as the id, because it would be more natural just to say the I, just as it is in German. It's just the ish. Sorry, the it. It would be more natural to say the it, but same thing with the ish, but also the s. So they have s and ish, which are just in English, instead of artificially trying to give them more scientific cred by giving them a Latin name as those biological taxonomy, or as though we're talking about Homo sapiens sapiens or something, or Juniperus, some specific class of Juniperus californius or something. We take it out of the direct discussion Freud is having and the direct discussion Nietzsche is having in that way. So there's levels of obfuscation, which Zizek, according to Dugin, Zizek becomes seductive in this way through these imbricated levels of obfuscation, which make him appear to be saying things more interesting than he is, although Dugin says we should just study Lacan directly instead of studying Zizek's version. But that being as it may, what I wanted to bring out is the specific Nietzschean thesis of the nihilism, how it shows in Zizek's basic thinking, partially without, it's smuggled in without him knowing himself, like a spore in his brain pan that's kind of got a life of its own within some species of neurons in his brain doing their own thing that he doesn't quite know about. So we could see that through the Alain Miller's, the great Lacanian Jacques Alain Miller's explication of the meaning of the phrase "there is no sexual relation," which means exactly the same thing as what Nietzsche says when he says there's no truth. So the meaning is there's really what they're saying is there's no normal case of a sexual of a individuation of one becoming two and the two becoming one, and a pair in a sexual relationship, or an individuation that's just ongoing according to a specific case of the sexuality of the people involved. So this has the same scheme as everything in modernity, as Hegelianism, is that the concept is developed in the specific cases, but in such a way that it's open-ended. So this is why they say, so this is also the origin of this object petit a, or petit a business. There's this kernel that can't be fully developed, which corresponds to the ongoingness of history, and also to Zizek's constant disavowal of the actual thesis of Hegel, which is that history was over. So Freud has brought in already the unconscious through this part of Nietzsche's thesis, but then Lacan brings in the rest of it, because in Freud there's still this thing that Freud is charged with for being um, too conservative, and saying, okay, we have the repressed content, which corresponds to the unconscious, but it can be worked out and sublimated, and we can then get a healthy individual within the specific demands of the specific society that will function adequately well and be adequately happy. But then the Lacan comes in and shows that adds the rest of Nietzsche's thesis. So I point everyone to Wilhelm Weisschädel's version, the Ungenauisch, no, what is it called? Ungenosen, sorry, the untimely dialogue, the dialogue of uncontemporaries. Sorry, Ungenosen, uncontemporaries in Gespräch, in dialogue, is play of Plato meets Nietzsche. That's the best simple way to see what's going on in all these, in Freud and Lacan and Zizek, in all these cases. The spreading of this idea, which then the positive uptake is that we see then it's not something specific to Friedrich Nietzsche, who lived at a certain time, but it's just that it's something that's generally visible, but it's the point in the discussion is reached at different time periods by different people, and some remain sort of uninformed for a longer time, and not having grappled with the insights that have been dug up, and the murkiness that's been made translucent for human beings. Not everyone has sort of reached the full stage of to use the Prussian, this kind of Prussian Auseinandersetzung, or confrontation with this discoveries of human beings. So yeah, I think Zizek's totally under the spell of that, and that puts him into he's trapped in a kind of scientism, where the only way that he could get out is by phasing up to Heidegger.